Well, howdy guys. Good morning. My name's Joshua Dreisbach. I'm here with Matthew Benavidez, Colin Ferrara, and Cord Koffel. We are with the TerraVolt group doing the microgrid implementation plan and the risk analysis for this presentation. So today we're kind of going to go over a little bit of a recap of what we've done so far. So kind of cover the markets that we've decided to go through and how we want to approach them, and cover the material cost so far that we've found. We're going to go through all the risks that we've found. So that's going to be transportation, electrocution, increase in material cost. We're going to go over the implementation plan after that. So it'll be the install, training the customers and technicians, transition, feedback from the client, and after that, we'll show you guys our critical path method for the product. So just to recap kind of what we've done so far. So with the project that we're doing, it's going to be these shipping containers that have batteries inside of them. These batteries, the amount of batteries determines kind of how big or how large they're able to store. So there's going to be a 100 kilowatt an hour module, 250 kilowatt an hour module, and a 500 kilowatt an hour module. And so all those prices are listed there for the material cost that we've determined. So those are 123,000, 218,000, and 408,000. So after we've kind of determined that, we've gone through and said that the markets that we would like to mostly attack for this product is going to be the oil and gas industry, the construction industry, and state and local governments. Now, especially with this product, because the benefits of this are so much in transportation and how little time it is for setup and tear down and the ability to move it around quickly. We believe the seeing is believing style marketing is kind of what we're calling it. So we would like to kind of take the product around the country and kind of demonstrate it at different trade shows or just the companies in general around that are willing to meet with us. We think that taking that doubt out of their mind of does this actually work or is it actually as easy as they say it is to pick it up, set it up, break it down, and move it to a different location, is that as easy as they say it is. So that's kind of been where we're at so far. We're going to toss it. Sorry, I forgot who we're going to. Cord. That's who we're going to. Cord's going to cover our risk.
My team and I, we discuss 3 risks that they really think that it will be a big detriment to the company. Risk number 1 is the transportation. We have a lot of these containers being hauled out on 18-wheelers. And everybody knows 18-wheelers they almost have a bad reputation on the roads and highways and stuff. When these 18-wheelers are hauled down the roads, they're carrying this heavier weight of the shipping container, all these batteries and metal piping and how all the structures are in it. They're going to have a hard time stopping, or not a hard time, but just the risk of an 18-wheeler stopping and having a car accident. You also got to worry about clearance issues. These shipping containers being 8 foot tall, just making sure that these truck drivers are aware of this height difference and going through obstacles and making sure they're safe. And my next risk will be electrocution. Being a high voltage system, electrocution is always going to be a factor to deal with. Therefore, electrocution. Sorry. Just these lines going everywhere, not everywhere, but just hooked up to the battery systems. You always have a line that's hooked up to a power source, and OSHA always, one of their big factors is the human error. You never know when it's going to occur or how it's going to occur, but just trying to get around it and making all the employees safe. That can always come back if the company is not up to code or like code on the OSHA systems. The person could come back on the company, and that would be another big detriment to the company. On to risk 3, just a huge increase in material prices. We've seen over the last few months how much wood has skyrocketed. I think it's done went up like 130% is what I've come to find out. If these prices keep going skyrocketing, our product price will have to go up to make it feasible for us to sell. And if our prices keep going up, customers won't find it feasible for them to actually buy. They will go back to a fuel-based power source. Now I will turn it over to Matthew to talk about the implementation plan.
So just going over our implementation plan a little bit in detail, we have concluded that we can implement this plan in 4 simple steps. The first step is going to be the installation phase. The second step is going to go to training the customers and the technicians both. The third step is going to be transitioning the system from site to site. And the fourth step is going to be feedback from the client. The first phase, the installation phase, we want to have all the materials on site before the actual shipping container arrives. Also, the installation crew. And we're shooting for a 1 to 2 day installation timeline, assuming that there's no setbacks and all materials are on site ready to go. For the second phase, the training aspect, we want to train both the customers and the technicians. This is going to allow for hazards to be easily recognized and for proper safety to be taken into consideration. By training the technicians continuously, we're going to keep their skills sharp and have them know how to fix issues effective and efficiently to keep the system running smoothly. For this one, we're shooting for 4 days of training on the new system. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Colin to finish up the implementation plan.
So this transition step, this is kind of like our make ready. It's either going back to the warehouse or back to a new site. So we're going to need our transport vehicles, make ready crew, secure all the loose materials in the container, tear down all the solar panels, put them inside, disconnect all of the electrical wiring so nothing's hot. And this is going to typically take about 1 to 2 days, assuming no setbacks. But this is a pretty simple step just to get you on the road again. So this last step, the feedback from the client, this is our final and most important step. This is where we're going to hear back from the client, what they like, dislike, and what can actually be improved on the system. What new issues have arisen that we haven't come to see. And this will help with our future jobs and our customer relationships because we want our customers to come back every time. So we want to keep that product in tip-top shape. And we want to know everything that has gone wrong or what's gone right, what we can improve and change. And this will take about 5 days total for proper feedback, just so the client has a good amount of time with that system and provide us with proper feedback. This is our critical path method. We have determined that these whole 4 steps will take about 13 days total, give or take a few days. But the site prep, we're going to start out 1 day. The delivery of the system, just transporting. I mean, we're not really going too far out of Texas if we are. And then we're going to install the system. Training, that can also be done kind of in between the site prep and delivery. And then we're going to transition into the system and then feedback. And then we're finished. These are our sources. And then our next steps, we have our final presentation. I believe our group is discussing to when we will actually present that. Do y'all have any questions or anything? Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's ask the client to go first. Mr. Boyd, do you have any comments or questions?
I got a few comments. We're getting down to the end of the line, and there's a couple of points that I think we need to go back and take a look at. And one is we intend to manufacture these systems, not install them. So what I need to be able to do is sell these manufactured power units to the prospective customers. And the question arises, how do I sell them? What is it my customers want in the power boxes? Is price all important? Is performance important? And so forth. And the main risk to me is a financial risk, because all of the others can be handled by other means. The transportation, I can insure them, and the trucking company assumes liability. They actually, when you transport something, you actually transfer ownership to the trucking company, and then they transfer it to the end user. So that's a point. What about the federal government? Are they not a good potential customer? That would be a good one. The electrocution risk, again, that's a technical issue that's borne by whoever installs them at the end location. We're not installing them, we're building them. And so what we're looking at is a manufacturing process, manufacturing costs, material costs to manufacture, and the financial risk of getting stuck with a system that we can't sell. So that's kind of, and it's probably my fault that I didn't make that clearer in the beginning, but that's where we're headed with these. And material price, that is a definite concern. Material prices are going up. Training, again, that's a customer training issue, and I think you nailed that one okay. We need to provide about 4 days of training to the end customer and let them know what it's going to take to set them up, but they assume all the technical risks once they buy them, and they understand what those risks are on the technical side. So again, I think I mentioned this the last time, I need to know what is unique enough about these, either price-wise, what is the economic benefit to my customers for owning and operating these energy storage systems. And there's several that we could and should address. Again, it's a little bit late in the process, but this is something I think we've kind of missed on, but that's my comments.
All right, thanks, Haas. Let's have a couple of questions or comments from Team 6.
I have a question pertaining to the training.
Go ahead.
You have permission to speak. Go ahead.
You guys said it takes about 4 days to train the customer to use the product.
Correct.
Do you think that could become an issue as compared to a regular fuel-powered generator that takes very little training to run?
I mean, there's still a lot that can go wrong with a fuel-powered system. I mean, those generators are, if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. You're going to spend a lot of money having somebody out there to fix it. But, I mean, this is pretty simple. It's a lot of electrical, but I think it could be an issue. But compared to fuel systems, no, I think it's not that big of an issue compared to those.
The only reason I would also say that I think it's like time consuming is because it's so new and just to the market, there's not a lot of knowledge about it type thing. So it's just you have to break that initial threshold barrier of like common knowledge to be able to train these employees.
And if you get repeat customers and they've already been trained, they know what they're doing, then they're not going to need that again. So.
Anybody else? One more. Team 6, need one more peer review comment or question.
I thought all of your risks were pretty reasonable.
Okay, thank you, Austin. Thanks for playing. All right, let me make some comments on this presentation. About 9 minutes long. Josh, 3 minutes. Cord, I got about 3 minutes for you. Matthew, 1 minute, and Colin 2. I felt the implementation plan had the basic components there. You had 4 activities, the install, the training, the transition, and the feedback. That was pretty well articulated. You put that together in a project diagram. The question I have is, what is the project completion time? How long to implement this system?
Sorry, I forgot to mention that. It was a total of about 13 days.
13 days. Okay, so you
12
had
to 13. Yes, sir.
you had the times on the slide, but you're forcing me to do the math. So
Yeah.
go ahead and put that on there.
Yeah.
So can none of those activities be done in parallel, or
They
all
could. I mentioned that. I said that the training could be done in between some steps.
Okay, so go ahead and reflect that in your project diagram next time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it was pretty well organized. I knew what to expect. I like the recap, Josh, that you did to remind us of the of what your solution was and what you're implementing. And the way I understand it is, basically your solution is marketing this using some sort of road shows, some kind of road show demonstration teams where the company is going to take some sort of demonstrator module out to one of your 3 target customers. That's the way I read your solution. Okay. Now, given that that's your solution, the risks. Let's talk about the risk analysis. And I'm going to ask Cord. Cord, tell me specific. You identified 3 risks: transportation accidents, electrocution, and price increases. How are these risks specific to your solution? In other words, doesn't TeraVolt have these risks anyway?
Yes, sir. But we thought about it just really hurting the company financially wise. I mean, if the company doesn't have any money, there's not enough money for us to market and produce the product.
Okay. All right. I felt like these risks were a little too general and maybe not specifically directed toward your solution. But the real thing that was missing in your presentation is the mitigation. So you identified 3 risks. So let me ask you, Cord or anybody, how are you going to mitigate these risks? Did you mention that? I didn't see it on a slide anywhere. So how are you going to mitigate the accidents that may occur? How are you going to reduce the impact of that?
Go ahead, Colin.
Properly trained truck drivers. I mean, you're not going to hire some newbie right off the block, but that's one for the 18-wheelers. I mean, you got to have a good driver. You got to have him know the rules of the road and be able to transport something safely.
Okay. Did you mention that?
No, sir. I don't think I did.
Okay. Every risk must have an accompanying mitigation, and you didn't do that. I'm having to draw it out now. Okay. We could argue about, is that a good mitigation or not? According to your client, they contract out the transportation, and the transport company does all the hiring of the drivers, not TeraVolt. Okay, so no mitigation. That was a big hole that was missing in this presentation. Otherwise, your implementation plan, you hit the major steps, and but it sounds like you need to do some more coordination with your client to make sure you're answering what he needs. Dr. Castell, I'll turn it over to you.
Just have some quick comments. I agree, very well organized, well presented, the slides are clear and easy to understand. On your table 1, I think you should add titles to the columns so we know exactly what these numbers mean. I can get it, but I think it should be clear and add a title to your table and specify what they are. I kept wondering all the time, what were you going to solve? So I had a hard time remembering what the product is. Now I understand they're not actually installing it, but selling it. So I think a schematic or the grids, as your client said, the benefits and different options would have helped me understand what exactly were you helping to solve and so forth. So that was missing for me. Otherwise, I agree with Professor Maggie and everything he said, and good job.